All right, so week 4 for day 2 and 5, we are going to add belly breathing to the beginning, and then we're going to add a floor hip bridge. Let's start it off. So hopefully by now the belly breathing is making sense. It's feeling good, and it's easy. You just count it out. Now for the floor bridge, we don't want any pain in your lower back. Really what we're trying to do is just somewhere in a position like this, lift your butt off the floor. You're going to have, your body weight's going to be on your feet, especially your heels, and your shoulders and upper back. So eventually, we'll get you coming all the way up to where you have a good diagonal line between your knee, your hip, and your shoulder. But we want to be pushing up with your butt. We don't want any pain in your lower back. So there's a couple things we can do to help. So 1, get something you can put between your knees, a pillow, a shoe, something that you can squeeze your knees together. And then for your heels, you can practice, if you're sprawled out and your heels are further away from your hips, it might have the tendency to feel it in your lower back, so you want to try to scoot your knees closer to your butt. You might have to come up and wiggle them up. Practice and see what feels best for you.
Sorry, my camera died earlier.
Squeeze the pillow and then
Lift and just hold for your max time with a cap of 30 seconds. Make sure you have no pain in your lower back.
So first, you're going to stack your joints, elbow, shoulder on top of the wrist, and then you're just going to step your feet back. Now naturally, you have an arch in your lower back, but we don't want to exaggerate that arch. If you can see my back arching excessively, that's not what you want. If that was you, you'd want to stop and maybe even try a higher elevation. So get set. I think about slightly tucking hips underneath and just holding. Set a timer,
See how long you can go. If you needed to do it against a wall, it's the same idea. You would put your hands on the wall. This way you're going to be kind of an angle here, but you would step back, still think of tucking your hips underneath, and you could start right here, just like this, holding this for 20 to 30 seconds. If you try that and say that's too easy, that's when we would go back here. If this is too hard and that's too easy, you need to find something in between, and then we'll hold for a max of 30 seconds. Eyes are looking down in between the thumbs. Don't want you looking like this. Don't want you doing any funky things with your neck either. Great place to practice your belly breathing, but if this is difficult, anything starts shaking, shaking's okay, but bad form is not. Next, we're going to do a high wall sit. Start off with your butt against the wall, and I want to have somewhere around a fist distance between your knees. And then we walk down a little bit. So we're going to start with the high sit. So somewhere in here. Now the lower you go, the more difficult it's going to be. We want it to be a good medium difficulty. We don't want to scare you off, making it too hard, but we also don't want it to be super simple. So a good medium. So lower down however you need to. You can have hands on your thighs in the beginning, but eventually you want to get to where you're comfortable not having them on. If you think about kind of proud chest, reaching back like this, this is where we want you to be, somewhere in that 10 to 30 seconds. This is a great place to practice that sniffing in. Exaggerate the exhale. Start your timer. Whenever you need to, go ahead and stop. Max of 30 seconds. See where you can go. And then when you're done, make sure you don't fall, right? You can use the wall if you need. Walk yourself back up. Next, you're going to do a modified side plank. So what we want to do is line up your shoulder above your elbow. I want to have a straight line here. If we took a picture of you from above, we could draw a line from your ear to your shoulder to your hip to your knee. So we don't want you jackknifed. We want you to nice straight line. Legs are bent behind. From this position, you want to make sure your shoulder is not hunched over. Keep your shoulder pointing to the ceiling. And then you want to just create as much space as you can between your floor and this lower hip. And then in this position, we just want to hold for that maximum of 30 seconds. If anything hurts, you can stop and try again. One thing is that if your elbow gets out too far, sometimes it doesn't feel good on the shoulder. Also, if your elbow's in too close, sometimes it doesn't feel good on your shoulder. Making sure, good posture. We're going to switch sides. Elbows underneath the shoulder. A straight line from that top view. And then just create as much space as you can between the hip and the floor. Hand can be like this or like this. Doesn't really matter. Now in the beginning, you might notice that you're just barely able to lift your hip off the floor to where maybe someone could maybe slide their hand underneath. And as you get stronger, you'll be able to lift it higher and higher. Don't force it. Do whatever your body's ready for. If you only get 5-10 seconds here, that's fine. Just do the best you can. If you have time, try to go through and do 2 rounds. Always make sure, like with that elevated plank, anything you're putting your hands on, make sure it's a steady surface. Safety is most important. Only work within your pain-free range of motion. Enjoy exploring new movements.